Can I call you in 25 minutes? Sorry about that. Thank you. I All right. So we had a little break yesterday. I think I caught a cold shaving my head. Um, in the last chapter, we saw how the last chapter was entitled "Killing of Sasura and Bakasura." Um, a lot of things happened. Uh, there was. It started with the everybody being puzzled, all the adults being puzzled, how Krishna managed to drop the two Arjuna trees, and then yeah, sorry. It went on to tell Krishna's basic little pastimes with his parents. Krishna would carry things that were too heavy for a normal child to carry, and other times he'd struggle carrying his father's shoes on his head, or he'd struggle if something was too heavy. He'd just move his arms, and um, yeah, there was also a fruit vendor that came and uh, bartered with Krishna, because that was the system at the time. He gave him a few grains, and then because he, out of love of for Krishna, he gave him everything. He had as much as Krishna could hold in his arms, and in return, his basket was filled up with jewels. And then, yeah, Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna not wanting to come home when his mother and Rohini are calling him to come home, and then going back there because his friends are, they're saying, oh, well, you can't come play with us then if you're leaving us now, threatening him. And then it was his birthday, and then Krishna would give away cows to the Brahmins. That would be his second birthday, and then how all the men of Gokul discussed, especially Upananda, Nanda Maharaj's brother, deciding that they should possibly leave this area because like it was plagued with demons, one after the other. We had Putana, then we had Trinavarta, and now these trees fell, and what if it crushed some children? So then they decided to then and there move their entire families and cows and everybody over to Vrindavan, which was, had just young flowers and trees, and the grass was, yeah, it seemed perfect. And so they all moved over there, and then Krishna started to take responsibility of the calves, and along with the small other boys, and they would herd the go into the fields with them, and then they would play with them. And there was actually a demon who decided, oh, let me, you know, get to Lord Krishna by taking the form of a calf, but Krishna picked that up, and along with Balaram, they took care of that demon. Krishna sneaked up on him, grabbed his hind legs, and twirled him around and threw him into a tree top. After which he fell down and died. And yeah, the demigods would shower flowers and sing his glories, and that was Vatsasura. And then just later that day, uh, another day, sorry, later in that pastime, in that chapter, very quick, soon after, they met with another demon, Bakasura, with a humongous beak and uh, very scary looking bird who swallowed Krishna first. But Krishna's effulgence and Krishna made himself so hot that the demon started choking and decided to spit Krishna out. And as a result, he tried to peck at Krishna, and hurt Krishna from the outside, but Krishna took his beak and bifurcated his beak. So that was last chapter. The demigods again showered flowers, very good smelling flowers, and when the boys came home, they told the parents about the amazing activities, and it just seemed like, you know, by the parents would be like, by the grace of the Lord, he's managing to deal with all these gopas and gopis. At any time they just hit, they try to attack him, but they just like flies entering a fire, to no avail, to no avail. So yeah, and in this way the Krishna and his friends were imitating pastimes of Ramachandra, and they're playing Hanuman and so forth. So yeah, that's how this chapter ends. Now we've got chapter 12, the killing of Aghasura demons. So the Lord desired to go outside in the morning with his coward boyfriends to the forest, where they were to assemble and take lunch. As soon as he got up from bed, he blew his buffalo horn bugle and called all his friends together, calling the calves, keeping the calves before them. As usual, they were herding the calves. They started in a great procession into the forest. In this way, Krishna assembled thousands of his boyfriends. They were each equipped with a stick, a flute, and a horn, as well as their lunch bag. Very important, because each of them were taking care of many, many calves. All the boys appeared very jolly and happy in that excursion. Each and every one of them, including Krishna, was attentive to his personal calves as he herded them in different places in the forest. The boys were fully decorated with various kind of golden ornaments. Out of sporting propensities, they began to pick up flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, and red clay from different places in the forest and further decorate themselves. I can imagine. While passing in the forest, one boy stole another boy's lunch package and passed it to a third. And when the boy whose lunch package was stolen came to know of it, he tried to take it back, but the boy who had it threw it to another. And this sportive playing went on amongst the boys as childhood pastimes. When Lord Krishna went ahead to a distant place in order to see some specific scenery, the boys behind him ran to try and catch him up. And there was a great competition. One boy would say, "I'll go there and touch Krishna." And the other would say, "Oh, you can't. I'll touch Krishna first." Some of them played on their flutes or vibrated bugles made of buffalo horns. Some of them gladly followed the peacocks and imitated the onomatopoeic sounds of the cuckoo, which is another bird. While the birds were flying in the sky, the boys ran after the bird shadows, they're running after the bird shadows along the ground and tried to follow their exact courses. Some of them went to the monkeys and silently sat down by them. And some of them imitated the dancing of peacocks. Some of them caught monkeys by the tail and played with them. When the monkeys jumped into it, the boys followed. When a monkey showed its face and teeth, a boy imitated and showed his teeth back to the monkey. Some of the boys played with the frogs of the Yamuna River, and when out of fear the frog would jump into the water, the boys immediately dove in after them. When the boys came out of the water and saw their own shadows, they would stand imitating, making caricatures and laughing. They would also go on to an empty well and make loud sounds. And when the echo came back, they would call it ill names and laugh. I wonder what ill names are up there. As stated personally by the Supreme Personality of God in the Gita, he is realized proportionately by the transcendentalists as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of God. Three realizations of Godhead in different grades: Brahman, Paramatma, and Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here in confirmation of this same statement, Lord Krishna awards the impersonalist the pleasure of Brahman realization by his bodily effulgence, also gives pleasure to the devotees as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are under the spell of the external energy, Maya, take him only as a beautiful child, yet he gave full transcendental pleasure to the coward boys who played with them. Only after accumulating heaps of past activities were those boys promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of God. So they're not ordinary boys, those coward boyfriends of Krishna. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? They were personally seeing the Supreme Personality of God face to face, to whom many yogis cannot find even after he whom many yogis can't even find out many of undergoing severe austerities, although he is sitting within their hearts. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. One may search for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages of the Vedas, Upanishads, but it's difficult to find him there. However, one who is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee can see the Supreme Personality of God face to face. After accumulating pious activities in many, many previous lives, the coward boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with him as friends. They could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing as intimate friends with intense love for him. When Krishna was enjoying his childhood pastimes with his boyfriends, one Aghasura demon became very impatient. He was unable to tolerate seeing Krishna play so happily. He was unable to tolerate Krishna's playing so happily, and therefore he appeared before the boys intending to kill him. This Asura was so dangerous, even the denizens of heaven were afraid of him. Although the denizens of heaven drank nectar daily to prolong their lives, they were afraid of this Aghasura and were wondering, when will the demon be killed? The denizens used to drink to become immortal, but actually they were not confident of their immortality. On the other hand, the boys who were playing with Krishna had no fear of demons. They were free of fear. Any material arrangement for protecting oneself from death is always unsure. But if one is in Krishna consciousness, immortality is confidently assured. The demon Aghasura appeared before Kamsa. Aghasura was instigated by Kamsa, so he had come with determination. Aghasura also thought that he would offer grains and water in memory of his brother and sister to kill Krishna and all the coward boys. Then automatically all the inhabitants of Vrindavan would die. Generally, for the householders, the children are the life and breath force. When all the children die, then naturally the parents also die on account of strong affection of them. So Aghasura deciding to kill all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, expanding himself by the yoga siddhi called Mahima. The demons are generally expert in achieving almost all kinds of mystic powers. In the yoga system, perfection called Mahima Siddhi, one can expand himself as he desires. Demon Aghasura expanded himself up to 8 miles and assumed the shape of a very fat serpent. Having attained this wonderful body, he stretched his mouth open just like a mountain cave, desiring to swallow all the boys at once, including Krishna and Balaram. He sat on the path. The demon, in the shape of a big fat serpent, expanded his lips from the land to the sky. His lower lip was touching the ground, and his upper lip was touching the clouds. His jaws appeared like a big mountain cave without limitation, and his teeth appeared like mountain summits. His tongue appeared to be a broad traffic way, and he was breathing just like a hurricane. His eyes were blazing like fire. At first, the boys thought that the demon was a statue, but after examining it, they saw that it was a big serpent lying down on the road and widening his mouth. The boys began to talk among themselves. Dear friends, this figure appears to be a great animal and sitting in such a posture just to swallow us all. Just see, is it not a big snake that has widened his mouth to eat all of us? It was. One of them said, yes, what you say is true. This animal's upper lip appears to be just like the sunshine, and its lower lip is just a reflection of red sunshine on the ground. Dear friends, just look to the right and left side of the mouth of the animal. Its mouth appears to be like a big mountain cave, and its height cannot be estimated. The chin is also raised, just like a mountain summit. That long highway appears to be its tongue, and inside the mouth it is as dark as a mountain cave. The hot wind that is blowing like a hurricane is his breathing, and the fishy bad smell coming out from his mouth is the smell of his intestines. Then they further consulted amongst themselves. If we all at one time entered into the mouth of this great serpent, how could it possibly swallow all of us? And even if it were to swallow all of us at once, it could not swallow Krishna. Krishna will immediately kill him as he did Bakasur, the demon with a big beak. Talking in this way, all the boys looked at the beautiful lotus-like face of Krishna and then began to clap and smile. So they marched forward and entered the mouth of the gigantic snake. Meanwhile, Krishna, who is the super soul within everyone's heart, could understand that the big statuesque figure was a demon. The boys did not know this. Thus, while Krishna was planning on how to stop the destruction of his intimate friends, all the boys, along with their calves, entered the mouth of the serpent. But Krishna did not enter. The demon was awaiting Krishna's entrance, and he was thinking, everyone has entered except Krishna, who has killed my brother and sister. Krishna is the assurance of safety to everyone. But when he saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of a great serpent, he became momentarily aggrieved. He was also struck with wonder at how the external energy works so wonderfully. He then began to consider how he could kill the demon and at the same time save the boys and calves. Although there was no factual concern on Krishna's part, he was thinking like that. Finally, after some deliberation, he also entered the mouth of the demon. When Krishna entered, all the demigods who had gathered to see fun and who were hiding within the clouds expressed with their feelings words like alas, alas. At the same time, all the friends of the Agasura, especially Kamsa, who were all accustomed to eating flesh and blood, expressed their jubilation, understanding that Krishna had also entered the mouth of the demon. While the demon was trying to smash Krishna and his companions, Krishna heard the demigods cry, alas, alas, and he immediately began to expand himself within the throat of the demon. Although he had a gigantic body, the demon choked by the expanding of Krishna. His big eyes moved violently and he quickly suffocated. His life air could not come out from any source, and ultimately it burst out of a hole in the upper part of his skull. Thus, his life air passed off. After the demon was dead, Krishna, with his transcendental glance alone, brought all the boys and cows back to consciousness and came with them out of the mouth of the demon. While Krishna was within the mouth of Agasura, the demon's spirit soul came out like a dazzling light, illuminating all the demons and waiting in the sky. As soon as Krishna came out of the mouth of the demon with his cows and friends, that glittering effulgence immediately merged into the body of Krishna within the vision of all the demigods. The demigods became overwhelmed with joy and showered flowers on the supreme Krishna, and thus they worshipped him. The denizens of heaven danced in jubilation, and the denizens of vibrations which sounded throughout the higher planetary system. He immediately came down to see what had happened. He saw that the demon was killed, and he was struck with wonder at the uncommon glorious pastimes of the personality of Godhead. The gigantic mouth of the demon put in position for many days and gradually dried up. It remained a spot of pleasure pastimes for all the coward boys. The killing of Agasura took place when Krishna and all his boyfriends were under 5 years. Under 5 years old are called children. Under 5 years old are called Kaumar. 5 years up to the 10th year they're called Ponda, and from the 10th year up to the 15th year they're called Kaishora. After the 15th year, boys are called youth. For 1 year, there was no discussion of the incident of the Agasura demon in the village of Raj. But when the boys attained their 6th year, they informed their parents the incident with great wonder. So this is quite a lengthy... Okay, it's not that bad. So for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is far greater than such demigods as Lord Brahma, it's not at all difficult to award one the opportunity of merging with his eternal body. This he awarded to Agasura. Agasura was certainly the most sinful living entity, and it's not possible for the sinful to merge into the existence of the absolute truth. But in this particular case, because Krishna entered into Agasura's body, the demon became fully cleansed of all sinful reactions. Persons constantly thinking of the eternal form, but in the shape of deity or in the shape of a mental form, are awarded the transcendental benediction of entering into the kingdom of God and associating with the Supreme Personality of God. So we can just imagine the elevated position of someone like Agasura. into whose body the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, personally entered. So Krishna entered into his body. So great sages, meditators, and devotees constantly keep the form of the Lord within their hearts, or they see the deity form of the Lord in the temples. In that way, they become liberated from all material contamination at the end of the body. And at the end of the body, enter into the kingdom of God. This perfection is possible simply by keeping the form of the Lord within the mind. But in the case of Agasura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally entered. Agasura's position was therefore greater than the ordinary devotees or the greatest yogis. Maharaj Parikshit, so he's the one who's inquiring, who asked the question last time as well, who was in hearing the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, in parentheses, who saved the life of Maharaj Parikshit while he was in the womb of his mother, we'll hear that later, became more and more interested to hear about him, and thus he questioned the sage Sukadeva Goswami, who was reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam before the king. King Parikshit was a bit astonished to understand that the killing of Agasura demon was not discussed for 1 year until after the boys attained the Pauganda age. Maharaj Parikshit was very inquisitive to learn about this, for he was sure that such an incident was due to the working of Krishna's different energies. Generally, Kshatriyas, so he was a Kshatriya, Maharaj Parikshit, or the administrative class, are always busy with their political affairs, and they have very little chance to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. But while Parikshit was hearing these transcendental pastimes, he considered himself to be very fortunate, because not only was he hearing Krishna's pastimes, but he was doing so from Sukadeva Goswami, the greatest authority on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, being requested by Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna in the matter of his form, qualities, and fame and paraphernalia. That's the end of the 12th chapter, the killing of the Agasura demon. In the next chapter, it's going to explain why it took the boys a year to tell their parents what happened that day. And that will be tomorrow, hopefully, chapter 13, the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma. All right, thank you, everybody. Good night.